Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been off to one of the best starts in the entire NBA out of any player in the entire NBA, and he is off to a career start in pretty much every individual statistic you can think of, as this year Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging the most points per game, blocks per game, and steal per game of his entire career, and he's also doing it on the best free throw percentage and field goal percentage as well. So he's not just shot chucking and he's not just putting up empty numbers, he's doing it at a very efficient rate and actually helping the Thunder find a little bit of success, at least more than a lot of people were probably saying they were going to have going into the season. And probably the most impressive thing Shai Gilgeous has been able to do is he's doing all this while only averaging 2.3 attempts from the three-point line every single game. And the reason this is so impressive is because he is a guard. He's not like a big man who can dominate you in the paint, grab offensive rebounds, get second chance points. He's a guard who has to pass the ball, play defense, and do pretty much everything you need your lead guard to do, and he is scoring at an elite level, and he's doing it without a legitimate three-pointer to really talk about, because he's not averaging enough attempts a game for it to make that big of a difference. And for him to be able to be that crafty and that creative on the offensive end, to pretty much not need the three-point line at all and still average around 30 points per game every single night, and although that individual success is great, he's even doing something a lot more impressive that not a lot of people are talking about, which is the fact that he's actually making his teammates an even better player. And that's really the difference between superstars and stars. Stars can get their all and they can do what they have to do, but a superstar can make the players around them even better, and that is exactly what Shai Gilgeous has done through the beginning of this season, as Poku right now is having a career season, especially for Poku standards. I mean, after he was picked, people really did just completely forget about who he was as a player. But this year, due to the gravity that Shai has been pulling on the offensive side, Poku has been getting probably the most open looks and the easiest looks of his entire career, which has resulted in him averaging the highest points per game, blocks per game, rebounds per game, three-point percentage, and field goal percentage of his entire career. And Poku is legitimately looking like maybe a potential solid NBA player, which is not something you could have said for him a few years ago. And that is very, very fun to watch, because Poku is one of the more interesting type build players. Very skinny, very tall, but he can shoot and kind of dribble as well. So he's just an interesting player who, although hasn't worked out to this point, but is really showing promise with how good Shai has been playing. And then even Josh Giddey, although Josh Giddey's numbers aren't really showing it, the way Josh Giddey plays is made so much easier when you have a guy like Shai on your team, because I mean, Giddey's obviously biggest struggle is the offensive end and scoring points. He's one of the best passers in the league, he's a very solid defender, and he's one of the smartest players in the league. That's how good Josh Giddey is. But from an individual scoring standpoint, that is probably the weakest point of his game, and all that focus that Shai gets night in, night out on every single possession that he touches the ball makes it so much easier for a guy like Josh Giddey to score, because he's no longer getting doubled or people coming help when he drives, because they're so worried about how good Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has. And although he's not having the greatest season, that improvement can still be seen on the stat line, as Giddey has improved his points per game, his three-point percentage, and his field goal percentage. And that three-point percentage going up is huge, because last year he was a bad three-point shooter. And yes, he's still not a good one, but he has improved. And a large part, like I said, is because of how many people have to focus on Shai, and he is getting more open looks. So that's now two young players, that lives are being made way easier due to how good Shai has been to start this year. And if those two can develop, that will be absolutely huge going forward. And it's not even just like the fact that they're having a solid year, a better year than a lot of people expected. It's that they're doing this beyond any expectations from anyone. And I don't think anyone would really debate that, as they did get the number 2 overall pick last year in the NBA draft. So they were obviously not a very good team last year, and they honestly may be a worse talent-wise roster this year as well, because I think they were trying to probably tank for Victor Wembanyama, and they probably wanted to be a little bit worse than they were. But Shai Gilgeous has pretty much made up for all the slack, because if you look at their offseason, they only made moves, or things only happened that would have made them a worse team. Because in the offseason, they got rid of all of their veterans pretty much. They let Derek Favors walk, they let JaMychal Green walk, and they let Ty Jerome walk as well. And then their number 2 overall pick, Chet Holmgren, got a season-ending foot injury before the season even began in the offseason this year, when he was playing with LeBron and pickup runs throughout the offseason. So not only did they lose all of their veterans and lose their number 2 overall pick for the entire season, they also only replaced them not by signing more vets or not even by signing other solid players. They replaced them by drafting really, really young players, and they drafted Usman Dieng, Jalen Williams, another Jalen Williams, and yes, those players have been okay, but they haven't really matched the productive that those vets will give you, nor the leadership or the wherewithal, the mental fortitude, and none of them have really played significant minutes outside of Jalen Williams. And the other two, Usman Dieng right now is in the G League, and the other Williams is either on the bench or in the G League. I'm not 100% sure. So it's not like they're helping the team a lot. So really, in the offseason, they had a net loss. But despite all these losses and the team probably being at a worse standpoint from a talent standpoint this year, they're actually pretty much having a better year to start. But not by a lot, but they're still have a better record, as last year they started off the year 6-10 and through the first 16 games, and they are currently sitting at a 7-9 record, and that is pretty much only due to how much better Shai has been, because Josh Giddey has improved, but not by enough to help them win an extra game with this less of a talented roster. Poku has improved, the same thing as Giddey, not enough to really affect anything. The only thing that's really changed is Shai has turned into a superstar level point guard. That is why they're winning games. So it is showing how much Shai means to this team and how important he is, and not even just how important, but how good Shai has been to be able to keep this roster afloat despite losing a ton of talent and probably actively trying to lose. And it's just been so impressive what Shai has been able to do and put on the court through the first few games of this NBA season. But unfortunately, guys, that's it for this video. So comment below, do you agree with me? Do you think that Shai is on another level? Do you think he's a star, superstar? All your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like the video, point the like button and subscribe button. It means the absolute word to me. And I hope you have a blessed day. Have a blessed day. So you have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.